Last August, millions of Americans joined the world in watching one of the greatest demonstrations of human achievement, with its origins dating back to 8th century Greece. The modern Olympic Games are a captivating display of strength, endurance, speed, tenacity, and perseverance. With each Olympic Game, we marvel at the incredible feat of physical strength on display. In these 2 weeks, we see the results of what was years, even a lifetime in the making. Athletes train a lifetime for what may be a few seconds of action. All their work, all their sacrifices are bundled up in one singular moment to feel the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. So much time, so much work, so much sacrifice is poured into the race. It must be run with precision and with determination, with eyes laser focused on the finish line, which is the ultimate goal. Each course, each race has a distinct beginning and a distinct end. And even the slightest distraction from the course laid out before you can result in the world-class athletes crushing defeat. For the last 6 years, I have had the honor of a lifetime serving you in this great state of God. 6 years ago, I solemnly took the oath of office to uphold our state's Constitution. And 6 years ago, I personally made a commitment to the people of this state to submit myself, a humble servant, to the men, women, and children who proudly call Alabama home, to create well-paying jobs so that they can support their families, to make sure that every child has the opportunity to receive the best education, to support our most vulnerable, the disabled, and the elderly, and the forgotten, and the unborn. I committed myself to the careful consideration that all men, all Alabamians, are created equal, regardless of race and political party, gender, and economic status. I vow never to accept a salary until every Alabamian who wants a job can get a job. This course laid out before us 6 years ago was filled with uphill obstacles of soaring unemployment, bleak state budgets, an unprecedented environmental disaster, and a natural disaster that would go down in history. Facing those obstacles head on, this race is still being run today with every bit of tenacity and endurance as when we left the starting gate. More people in Alabama are working than at any time in our administration. Alabama's labor force is the largest that it's been in 5 years. And tonight, we can proudly announce that we have now reached the milestone of 2 million Alabamians in the workforce. Running full sprint toward our goal of full employment, we are intentional with our mission to put Alabamians back to work. When coal miners in Walker County or steel workers in Birmingham were laid off, when maritime workers were needed in Mobile, our Alabama Department of Labor held a series of successful job fairs to connect jobs with our people. 500 employers ready to hire have participated in lines of job seekers, often stretched out the door and down the street. As a result of those efforts, today approximately 1,000 more Alabamians have a job. Alabama's manufacturing industry is growing with more Alabamians working in that sector than before 2008. Since taking office in 2011, my administration has sought, recruited, announced, broken ground, and celebrated over 92,000 well-paid jobs for the people of this state. There is little that is more gratifying to me at this point in our administration than to see the seeds of economic development planted in a community take root, and come into full bloom with well-paying jobs that feed and support families. The world took notice in Alabama in 2012 when we welcomed Airbus, the aerospace industry, to Mobile. Springing up from an empty field, and by the skilled hands of Alabamians came a $600 million manufacturing facility where world-class jetliners are now being built and produced. The first Alabama-made Airbus jetliner took flight last July. And it was built by thousands of the hardest working people in the country. Companies and industries have poured over $24 billion of investment into Alabama. They've also invested in our people and in the belief that their products will be made best when they are made in Alabama. Companies like Polaris in Huntsville are building and producing ATVs and are hiring 1,700 Alabamians and creating hundreds of positions for technicians and programmers and welders. GE Aviation is investing more than $200 million to build 2 factories in Huntsville and is expected to employ up to 300 people. And it's not just our larger cities with new well-paying jobs. With an intentional focus on bringing jobs to rural Alabama, we bring industry to our smallest towns. Motor Tech is building a $46 million flagship facility in Woodstock in Bibb County, supplying Mercedes, and hiring 220 Alabamians. Alabama's automobile industry has hit another high in 2016 as workers at Hyundai, and Mercedes, and Honda rolled out over 1 million Alabama-made vehicles. Montgomery's new Hyundai Santa Fe, our Lincoln's new Hyundai Ridgeline, and Tuscaloosa's 4 Mercedes models are all taking center on the world stage. Besides receiving awards for some of the best vehicles on the market, they have one important thing in common: their homes in Alabama. We opened Alabama's newest interstate, I-22, not just providing convenience and safer travel for our people, but paving the way for greater economic development in financially strapped northwest Alabama. There is simply no place like Alabama's beautiful Gulf Coast. And the incredible Gulf State Park project is well on its way to becoming an international benchmark of economic and environmental sustainability. On track to open next year, the Gulf State Park project will be the pride of our state for outdoor recreation, for education, and for hospitality. Economic opportunity grows and thrives in our state, especially for the men and women who have sacrificed so much for our state. And yet, they ask for so little. Alabama is the home of over 420,000 veterans. And through our Alabama Executive Veterans Network, or ALAVETNET, and the Alabama Small Business Commission, we are making sure that veteran-owned businesses succeed and prosper. And today, Alabama's unemployment rate for our veterans stands at 4.1%. This percentage is lower not only than our state unemployment, it is lower than our national unemployment. Listening to and focusing squarely on the needs of our counties and our cities in 2012, we launched the state's largest investment in roads and bridges in the history of Alabama. state and local governments. Since the first project began 5 years ago, you've seen across our state hundreds of roads that have been improved and dangerous bridges have been replaced. Those orange barrels that you see out there on county roads, the asphalt pavers, and the highway workers that you see, and those manning the equipment on crumbling bridges and roads. So these are the result of A-Trail. Alabama's infrastructure success story. There are 1,100 A-Trail projects totaling $1.2 billion on schedule for your local communities. These projects, specifically requested from local governments, are those that really make a difference in their area. 700 projects have been completed, and the effects of A-Trail reach beyond the pavement. And in fact, 94% of all A-Trail projects have been won by Alabama contractors. Now in its 5th year, A-Trail is the #1 reason that some of our contractors were able to stay in business. When bureaucracy grinds government to a halt, A-Trail has been an answered prayer for communities. If you don't believe, just ask Marshall County. Ask them about the Red Mill Bridge. The dangerous bridge was the site of fatal car crashes. It was an impediment to the local economy, heavily dependent on local poultry farms. Chicken trucks couldn't even turn around on the road, and they were blocking access to farms and serving as an obstacle to greater overall economic development. Like many of you in your district, these were one of the projects that everyone wanted and the community desperately needed, yet no one in Marshall County thought they would ever see this in their lifetime. Beginning in 2015, our administration joined with the locals, and together last month, we celebrated the completion of the largest Marshall County project ever. When there is an obstacle along the course of this race we run, we will find a way, or we will make it. When this race began, we launched an ambitious effort to save Alabama taxpayers money. That was an uphill climb. Alabama was essentially broken. Savings accounts had been wiped out, and federal stimulus dollars were gone. But we knew there were opportunities to find efficiencies, and to consolidate, and to cut, and to trim the size of state government, and to ultimately save taxpayers millions of dollars. That is exactly what we did then, and exactly what we continue to do even to this day. We launched an ambitious plan in 2012 with a goal to save $1 billion by the end of our administration. Not only did we reach that goal, but we accomplished it much earlier than expected. Alabama led the nation in our road to $1 billion in savings. And I am proud to tell you tonight that Alabama taxpayers have now saved a stunning $1.2 billion annually. This administration worked so fast and so efficiently that of the 26 new governors elected statewide in 2010, we reduced the size of our state's bureaucracy at the 3rd fastest pace. While we've seen these successes along the course, together we have shared in our struggles. We have shared in our setbacks. Alabama is certainly no stranger to severe storms and deadly tornadoes. And in fact, we had one this afternoon in Andalusia. In April 2011, we were left with devastated and crushed and heartbroken areas of our state, and we were nearly defeated. But instead of being blown off course by these tornadoes and that tragic statewide devastation, we saw an enormous spirit of love and cooperation and kindness like we've never seen before. And we came back strong. Neighbors across our state gave their time, their donations, and their own money to help one another. You saw it in your district. And I saw it face Resolved to do everything that we can to protect the people of this state from that historical disaster, we commissioned the Tornado Recovery Action Council. And now we have put in place 13 of the 20 recommendations made in the track report. And we've dedicated ourselves to making our communities safe. Today, there are now 275 community safe rooms across Alabama and 4,000 more individual safe rooms. Pickens County, DeKalb County, Winston County, and Houston County. We agreed this last year with our neighbors and their laws. And we thank God for His protection. We've held each other's hands, and we've come alongside and carried our fellow Alabamians in their darkest hour. It is that spirit of service that is the hallmark of the great, hard-working people of our state. It is that willingness to help, to sacrifice for our fellow man that we see every day from our men and women in law enforcement and the men and women who serve in the military, who protect our country. For more than 20 years, our Army National Guard soldiers have been serving as a force multiplier for the U.S. Border Patrol agencies to secure the southwest border. Twice in 2016, as Commander-in-Chief, I had the honor of ordering Alabama National Guard support to protect and defend the U.S. border with Mexico. As a result, soldiers from the Alabama National Guard and our Border Patrol recorded more than 28,000 apprehensions at the U.S.-Mexican border. Countless border turnbacks took place, and they seized 42,000 pounds